Everyone, please take their seats. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Frank McMillan. This is the North Andover Board of Health meeting of Thursday, September 26, 2019 at 7:01. The meeting will please come to order. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item of business on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of June 27th, 2019 and July 25th, 2019.
The minutes have been critiqued, and I make a motion that they are approved.
Hearing a motion for approval in a second, is there any discussion? There being no discussion, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The meeting minutes are approved. We will next move on to the next agenda item, which is the public hearing, excuse me. All of you have in your packets the tobacco regulation revisions public hearing. I'd like a motion to open the hearing.
Make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved in second to open the public hearing. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The meeting is now open. I'd like to remind anybody who would like to speak to please, when you do come up to the microphone, to speak into the microphone so that you can be recorded. This is a public hearing and it will be recorded and broadcast live. It'll also be live streamed. Please state your name, your address, and if you are representing a business, please state that as well. We will be limiting testimony to 3 minutes, and I will have a timer here, and it will be enforced strictly. If you want to come back for a second comment, you can come back after everyone else has spoken. There will be no more than 2 trips to the microphone. Okay, the meeting is now open. Is there discussion?
I live at 447 Waverly Road. I also serve on school committee and currently am vice chair, although I'm not speaking in an official capacity for the school committee. I will let this committee know that the school committee has heard a number of concerns about vaping over the past couple of years. Vaping has been happening in North Andover for quite a few years, but it's really become a major concern for not only parents of students, but also students and their peers. We had a student group come in and speak about vaping and their concerns about vaping, their concerns how it's impacting their community, their concerns about how it's impacting individuals who are vaping. So I would just encourage this committee to do all that it can to limit access to vape products for all people under 21. I know the governor has gone farther than that. The school committee has, the schools have adopted policies in response to anybody who's vaping. But also, I think more importantly, our Wellness and Health Committee has been addressing it from an education point of view. People didn't stop smoking because they were afraid of getting cancer and dying. They really stopped smoking because there was an education process around the impacts for their ongoing health and their day-to-day life. So the schools will continue to do that, but it's certainly important that the town take any measures that it can to limit access for people under 21. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment?
You want to just run through and go through some of the proposed changes that you guys have discussed in the past? There's a sheet in your packets that's got a list of 1 through 9 that you guys have talked about in the past and gone through in some past discussions, but now they're incorporated into a draft regulation that was posted online about a month ago, as well as notice that went out to retailers and a legal ad that was published in the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. Anybody have any questions about these items 1 through 9? Maybe some additional ones being added to this in light of some new information that's come out this past week, such as a clear definition of vaping and vaping product, which we don't currently have in our regulations that the state did put out and sent around to all the local boards of health this week because of their 4-month ban.
Okay, so we'll just take them in order. The proposed change to the regulation number 1 is to prohibit the sale of tobacco and vape products flavored with mint, menthol, and wintergreen, except in adult-only retail stores. And that would be smoke and bake shops where a person under the age of 21 is prohibited entry at all time, and that sales are limited primarily to tobacco and vape products and tobacco and vape paraphernalia, and that no food products requiring a food permit are sold.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, are you accepting public testimony at this time? Actually, that's the item that I was hoping to speak on tonight. That you
Please
just
introduce
addressed.
yourself. We have a 3-minute limit, 2 times to the mic.
Thank you. My name is Michael Brangwin, and I work with the Condition for Responsible Retailing. It's a group of retail stores, including retail stores in the town of North Andover, but throughout the state. And we work for the interests of those stores, and they have an interest because they sell these products. So I want to say, I guess at the outset, that no one is denying, and I think a lot of the people here probably agree, that teen vaping is certainly, the statistics all seem to indicate that it's a very serious problem and one that needs to be addressed. The reason I'm here is to point out that I believe that specifically this part of the regulation that relates to mint, menthol, and wintergreen products has no logical connection to the problem that this board is very appropriately attempting to address. So I'll try to be brief because I know there's a 3-minute limit, but my first point would be that the FDA conducts regular checks of the stores in your town. This is actually one of the only pieces of local data that's available for specifically North Andover. And for convenience stores in this town, there's a 98% compliance rate for these FDA checks. That's 51 out of 52, meaning one of those 52 times a minor, where there was a sting operation, a minor was sold some type of tobacco product, whether it was a combustible traditional tobacco product or an e-cigarette. So that's an exceptionally high compliance rate by these convenience stores. And what this regulation is doing is taking products, mint, menthol, and wintergreen products specifically, out of these convenience stores and just focusing them in adult-only retail tobacco stores. There's no data to suggest that these adult-only retail tobacco stores have any better compliance rate with sales to minors. And I would suggest to you that the problem is not the sale by convenience stores. Convenience stores actually have an excellent ability to identify and stop these products from getting into the hands of children, as suggested by the FDA data. I'll also point out that, and I want to briefly address the recent developments with the governor's ban, but the FDA and the Center for Disease Control has shown that these products, particularly mint, menthol, and wintergreen, which aren't the type of flavors like cherry, creme brulee, the sweet flavors that maybe are more appealing to a younger audience. These are kind of traditional flavors associated with traditional tobacco products like smokeless tobacco or Newport cigarettes, for example. This regulation that you're putting in place does not make any distinction for those products. I'm sorry, was that the 3 minutes?
That's your 3 minutes.
Could I conclude in just 10 more seconds? Sorry.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you your second 3 minutes if somebody else wants to speak first. Specifically with regard to Regulation 1, prohibiting the sale of tobacco and vape products flavored with mint, menthol, and wintergreen except in adult-only retail stores, i.e. smoke and vape shops where persons under 21 are prohibited entry at all times. Sales are limited primarily to tobacco and vape paraphernalia, and that no food products requiring a retail food permit are sold. Would anybody like to make a comment before our first guest makes an additional 3-minute comment? Nope.
Suzanne Egan, I'm the town attorney for the town of North Andover. And I just thought, at this point, I've had a chance to review these draft regulations, and I wanted to make one comment about them. And I think this is relevant to the speaker's comments, is one of the things that these regulations at this point are lacking is the regulatory purpose behind the regulations. So in most instances where there's these tobacco regulations and that you're regulating particular activities, it's always a good idea to have that regulatory purpose. What are you basing your decision on? What kind of studies, what findings the board is basing its determination on, and also what are the laws available to it. And I know in 2015, Brian LaGrasse gave me today the previous tobacco regulations, and that had a statute, that had the purpose, the regulatory purpose in it. And right now, the laws have changed, so we need to update those. But that's one of the things that the board should consider doing. And I know that the gentleman wants to speak on the issue and sort of the purpose of enacting these regulations. So I just wanted you to be thinking of that during this time. Thank you.
Point well taken. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak before we allow a second time to the microphone? Mr. Banwood?
Thank you again, Michael Brangwyn, and thank you for letting me to continue. So my point that I'm making is that these products, these mint, menthol, wintergreen products, are shown to assist adult cigarette users go from combustible tobacco products to ENDS, or electronic nicotine delivery systems, which the CDC has recognized as an effective way and a more safe way to get people off of combustible cigarettes and on the path to quit. And they're more effective than the patch, and there's studies and recommendations by the CDC that have shown this. So what we're doing...
Do you have that data here?
I don't. I can submit it to the board, and I'm happy to send it in an email with support. But these are all CDC recommendations, and we can provide the report, the actual article, so you're not just taking my word for it. I'd be happy to submit that to the board after tonight. But the point I'd like to make is that, so number one, these flavors that are being banned are not the flavors that have led to this epidemic, or the fact that they're available in convenience stores. So in light of the new ban that's in place particularly, so let's think about what happens. There's a ENDS, a vape ban, tobacco, nicotine and marijuana in effect for the next 4 months. So what this regulation will do is then just ban tobacco-flavored products of mint, menthol, and wintergreen out of convenience stores, having absolutely no relation to this vaping problem, because the vaping products are currently banned for the next 4 months while there's an investigation in place by the states, my understanding. So all the regulations, if enacted, would do at this point, at least for the next 4 months, would be to take things like Newports, mint, chewing tobacco, those types of things, out of convenience stores. And the convenience stores themselves that have this 98% rate of actually stopping the sales to minors, they are being punished by funneling all of the sales into specific stores with no data to suggest that those stores are any better at preventing sales to youth. And that loses their stream of customer revenue. As I said, we want to encourage people to get off of combustible cigarettes, electronic. If they do become available after the 4-month ban is over, that remains to be seen. But what will happen, unquestionably, is that these products that are in no way related to the problem that the board is seeking to address will be taken out of a revenue stream for these businesses, and that accompanies anything else that the person goes in. It's part of the market basket where they go in to buy, whether it's a mint vape product, not that that's something that is available now, or a pack of Newport cigarettes, they buy milk or groceries or other things like that. And that will just move that revenue stream out of North Andover. So I'd conclude with suggesting there are better options for this board to address this problem that actually have a rational relationship to the problem that you're seeking to address.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, members of the board.
Is there any further discussion on proposed Regulation 1 as printed? Please come to the microphone and just please introduce yourself. I know everyone knows you here, but
Hello, my name is Diane Knight, and I work with the Northeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership, which is a program of Greater Lawrence Family Health Center, and it serves the community of North Andover. I've had the pleasure of doing a lot of education here in the town and educating the staff in the schools, and so that there is a tremendous interest and energy around the importance of this issue, and they have all been on board with it for a number of years now, since this issue is really serious. So I do support all of the proposed changes to your current tobacco regulations, sending a clear message to this community that flavored tobacco products, including mint, menthol, and wintergreen flavors, and e-cigarettes, they do belong in adult-only establishments. Young people, mint, menthol, they are flavors. There's no question about it. And young people, as I think you will hear by some of the young people here in the audience that will take the opportunity to speak tonight on these proposed regulations, know and understand. You would be in good company with 15 other communities in Massachusetts that have included mint, menthol, and wintergreen in their flavor restrictions. So we have to do everything we can to protect our young people from nicotine, which is so incredibly addictive. Adolescents and young people are particularly vulnerable to its effects. The brain changes that happen, the people who start smoking at teens smoke more, become addicted more easily, and have such a hard time quitting compared to people who start smoking or using products as adults. I really appreciate your inclusion of menthol as a flavor because it helps the poison go down easier. It allows you to inhale deeper, take in more nicotine as a result. The menthol helps to increase the number of nicotine receptors in the brain and makes quitting more difficult. Menthol makes it easier to smoke and contributes to young people starting. So we must protect our children here in North Andover, and I appreciate your commitment to health and the well-being of this community. Thank you.
thank you. You had 22 seconds left.
I won't say. Good evening. Thank you for holding this hearing. My name is Cheryl Sabara. I am the senior staff attorney for the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards. And I'd like to respond to some comments that were just made. One, the compliance rate in North Andover. It's really interesting that this organization, I think he meant to say he works for the Coalition for Responsible Retailers. Yes. I think that's what he meant. And they constantly throw out this FDA compliance rate. And it's always low because the FDA brings in 16-year-old kids that aren't from this area, and they try to purchase Marlboros or Newports. If you talk to kids, especially kids in Massachusetts, and we have the data to demonstrate it, they will tell you that 30% of them are able to purchase products in non-age restricted stores, convenience stores. They go into these stores two-thirds more times than adults go into these stores. And we're not really talking about whether they can get these, even though they can get them. We're talking about what they're exposed to when they go into these stores. The tobacco industry and the vaping industry spends 96% of its marketing budget in these stores. That's what the problem is. That's the huge problem. We need to get these products out of places that kids see them in. So regardless of what the sales rate is, the exposure rate is what's really driving this epidemic. And if we look at a mass survey from 2018, 30% of the kids get these products in stores. Additionally, another 21% give money to someone else who gets these products in these stores. And then additionally, another 20% get the products from kids that are above the age of 21. So you combine all of that, and we've got almost unfettered access to these products by kids. So that's the first thing I would say. And the fact that menthol mint and wintergreen are not relevant to what your goal is quite frankly hard to swallow. Menthol is a flavor, and there are even more compelling arguments for restricting menthol than there are for any other flavor, because it's not just a flavor. It has an anesthetic quality about it that makes it, as Diane said, easier for the poison to go down. You all remember Vicks VapoRub. Cough drops are mentholated, and there is this some people just don't seem to want to accept the fact that 54% of youth smokers, 12 to 17, use menthol, and 33% of adult smokers do. My time's going
In the
off.
interest of fairness, I'm going to let somebody else speak, and you'll get a second
Okay.
chance at the microphone if somebody else would like to speak to these issues.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Hall. I am the program manager of the Northeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership, a program run out of Greater Lawrence Family Health Center that serves North Andover. I just want to share with you a personal story. A coworker of mine who's a medical assistant took her son to the gas station. They were stopping to get gas, went inside for a snack. Her son's about 6 years old enough to read, but not old enough to understand electronic cigarettes yet, right? So he read a sign that said apple juice. Turned to his mom, said, "Mom, can you buy me the apple juice?" The only problem is that the sign was for apple e-juice, not an apple juice box. So at the young age of only 6 years old, he was exposed to the tobacco industry tactics because of its location in a gas station and not in an adult-only retail establishment. We need to put these products into adult-only retail tobacco stores to keep our young children protected from these exposures and tactics. By putting these products in these stores, we'll be limiting the effects the tobacco industry has on our youth in North Andover. We cannot continue to condone the normalization of these products by having them be in our everyday stores where both our youth and younger are shopping every day. I'd also like to present to you the individuals who have taken time to express their support in letters. Lindsay Carboni, the Assistant Dean of Graduate Health Sciences at Merrimack College. Catherine Wong, Health Sciences Librarian at Merrimack College. Denise Dwyer, Nurse Practitioner and Assistant Director of Health Services at Merrimack College. Dr. Eleanor Shonkoff, Assistant Clinical Professor in the School of Health Sciences. Dr. April Bowling, Assistant Professor of Health Sciences at Merrimack College. And visiting scientists at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Dylan Drescher, student at Merrimack College. Andrew Musselman, student at Merrimack College. I applaud you for your efforts and consideration and would like to thank you for having me here tonight. And I have the letters if you'd like them as well.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Would you like to come back? Sure. Pardon the interruption.
That's quite all right. I'm going to just, I want to respond to what the prior speaker said about the CDC and how wonderful they think electronic cigarettes are for adults who are trying to quit. And what they actually said was that if you are an adult smoker and you completely stop using combustible products and use only electronic cigarettes as a means to quit, you will be taking in less chemicals than you would if you were using a combustible product. However, since this emergency order, and now when I was driving here, the CDC is reporting they have up to 800 hospitalizations. I'm not sure that the CDC, because they're the ones that are actually doing the investigation of these products and who are advising people not to use them, I'm not sure they would even make that statement. But that's the statement they were making. If you are an adult and you completely stop using combustible products and only use these. So the issue of harm reduction, if an adult wants to use them, that's the adult's prerogative, but right now we have an emergency order because we have so many cases of respiratory and pulmonary hospitalizations. I would also say in Massachusetts now, when I put this presentation together, there were 38 cases. Now I think we're up to 61. Commissioner Burrell testified at Congress yesterday in D.C. and says that we're getting reports of at least 10 new cases every day. So the thought that mint, menthol, and wintergreen are not flavors that should be restricted is contrary to all of the evidence that we see, especially when you look at the African American smoking rate of these products. And the NAACP and the Urban League have come out vocally in support of restricting menthol, mint, and wintergreen products. And if you look at where adults actually get their vaping products, 75% of them get them online or at a specialty store. So in closing, I support your efforts and I applaud you for doing this. And I should tell you that the Coalition for Responsible Retailers have sued several municipalities for adopting these regulations. And in every single jurisdiction, county that have heard their motions for a preliminary injunction, which would prohibit cities and towns from actually enforcing these regulations, they have lost. Every judge has said there is no likelihood of success on the merits on the part of the coalition. Thank you.
Thanks for your
Thanks,
comments. If there's nothing additional on the item 1, item 2 is a regulation that would prohibit the sale of electronic cigarettes and all other vape products with or without flavors, except in adult-only retail stores. So this would be not the flavors, but the electronic vape product itself, where a person under the age of 21 is prohibited at all times. Sales are limited. So similar language to the previous item, bullet item 1. So is there discussion on this, or is this felt to be already discussed? If you want to speak,
When you say adult only, does that mean you could sell it at a liquor store, but you couldn't sell it at a convenience store?
No.
Is that what you're telling me?
Good question. I have
What's
to look at
the
that.
answer?
I think, well, we're in the process of actually creating a definition for adult-only retail store.
Define it.
We have a proposed definition.
An establishment that does not share space with another business that shall have a separate public entrance that does not sell food or alcohol. There's the answer to your question right there. That does not have a
sell
restaurant
food or
license.
alcohol.
Correct. So no food permit, no alcohol permit, tobacco only is what the definition is proposed to say.
And how does it affect stores in this town?
The definition,
No, what stores in this town applied to that definition?
right now, we don't have any.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Ben Brar, and I'm a freshman student at Merrimack College here in North Andover. I care about fighting tobacco because I have friends and family that have both used chewing and smoking tobacco and are now at risk for lung and mouth cancer. What is happening in the news right now is the start of what will hopefully be some answers regarding the negative impact of e-cigarette use, which has addicted my generation and is killing innocent teenagers. We need to keep these products out of sight in regular stores and help keep them out of the hands of our youth. Thank you to the Board of Health for helping bring awareness to this crucial topic, and I hope that my opinion can help save some lives.
Thank you for your remarks. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Okay, we'll move to number 3, mandate that retailers require a government-issued, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
please go ahead.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself.
My name's Liam Dennison. I'm also a freshman student at Merrimack College. I'm a part of the men's ice hockey team, which promotes an active and healthy lifestyle. I care about the fight against tobacco because at the young age of 19 years old, my friends are victims of tobacco addiction thanks to vaping products. I've seen firsthand the negative effects it has had on their personal life, as well as their sport performance or lack thereof. I support the proposed regulations tonight because research shows that kids who shop at stores with tobacco 2 or more times a week are 64% more likely to start smoking than their peers who don't. We need to make sure these products are not normalized in convenience stores we frequently shop at near Merrimack College, so my friends are less tempted to engage in these addictive habits. Thank you for your time tonight and listening to my story.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome, please introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Reagan Kimmons, and I'm a freshman student at Merrimack College, and I'm a member of the college hockey team. I'm here to express the support for all the tobacco policies you are considering tonight. I care about fighting tobacco because my friends and teammates are addicted to e-cigarettes, and it has had a direct negative impact on their athletic careers. I support the proposed regulations because I refuse to see any more of my friends become addicted to nicotine and lose out on promising athletic opportunities due to repeated exposure to e-cigarettes and vaping products. My generation and younger are being exposed and hooked on new emerging tobacco products because of their advertisement and regular availability in everyday stores. And I also just wanted to mention, I know I'm a little bit younger than you guys, and whenever my friend, I don't smoke, but whenever my friends go to the store, I know this is on the topic before, they're looking for the menthol, that brand, and whenever they're sold out, they just have like the regular tobacco one. They don't buy it, and whatever other flavors they're looking for, they don't have. If they ever have like the regular tobacco, they're not interested. So I know that banning that will be a big success for this town. Thank you for listening to my testimony this evening, and thank you to the Board of Health for having me here tonight.
Thank you for your comments. Are there other comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll just take the next one in order. Number 3, mandate that retailers require a government-issued photo identification card to be presented by all persons appearing under the age of 40 who wish to purchase tobacco products. I think I'm going to take the chair's prerogative and ask Brian if you could explain our rationale.
The previous law has it at 27, I believe, but people that look 40 typically are not under 21. Pretty straightforward. So
somebody who looks like Joe?
Joe is
Would you card Joe?
No, I would not card
Told
Joe.
me not to talk too much this meeting.
So it just gives that age gap a little bit more of a buffer, whereas somebody who's 27 could look older than they actually are.
All right. You are also limited to 3 minutes. Anybody wish to address that topic, or shall we move on? Seeing no one wishing to address it, we'll move on to the next one. There is a proposal, number 4, to cap the total number of establishments holding a tobacco sales permit. Would you explain the rationale?
The rationale is that we have a number of establishments that sell tobacco currently. The idea is to cap that at a number close to where we are now, to limit the number of retailers and the normalcy of tobacco products being sold in all of these establishments. By limiting the number, they become a little bit more valuable for the businesses, but they also limit the exposure and potential growth of these particular retailers. I think you guys are looking at 2 different caps, one for tobacco retailers and then one for a tobacco-only retailer, which would be your vape shops and things like that.
Right. That's actually the next item of business.
There you go.
So the next item of business would be to cap the total number of establishments holding a tobacco sales permit that operate as an adult-only retail tobacco store. And I think you've already addressed that. Anybody wish to comment on that? Seeing nobody at the microphone, I'll assume no. The next regulation prohibits smoking and vaping in all adult-only retail tobacco stores. So in smoke and vape shops, there would be no smoking allowed. We'll move on. Provide further restrictions on discounts on tobacco and vape product prices, essentially prohibiting discounting. And seeing nobody wishing to address that, and then provide further restrictions on out-of-package sales of tobacco and vape products. This would be sales of singles.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Before we continue this hearing to the next meeting of the Board of Health, which would be on October 24th, 2019, is there anybody with any further comment before we close or recess the public hearing?
Helen Picard, 447 Waverly Road. I don't believe that there are currently any over 21 only smoke shops currently in North Andover. My concern would be that if we are, and I don't know how to address this, but I would just raise the concern to this committee to consider. If we were to limit all vape products to what I'm going to call a smoke shop, is that going to encourage the establishment of a smoke shop in North Andover? And further, might we need to have some zoning laws, which I know is not you guys, but you could raise the issue to the zoning committee, about where such establishments could be situated? I'm imagining that there could be an opportunity for a retailer to be looking at this as an opportunity for a very desirable product to be placed in a very desirable area where the sign is very desirable to young people.
Thank you for your point.
Right now, we don't have any adult-only tobacco stores in town. I think by proposing a cap and having a set number would limit the number that you would have, obviously. I think by doing that and restricting the certain products to that store or those stores would help decrease the exposure to a point. I think by not having the opportunity to have a tobacco-only retailer is effectively banning certain products that are legal, that I don't know if the board wants to try to tackle that legal hurdle at this point.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chair would entertain a motion to recess the public hearing and continue it until October 24th.
We'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Aye. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Okay, the public hearing is now recessed and continued until October 24th, 2019. The ayes have it. We will move on to our next Board of Health item of business. Is there any old business?
Currently, no.
Okay. Is there any new business?
Well, just the vaping ban that happened this week. Just give you guys a brief little update on that. Obviously, the governor made a declaration of public health emergency, and the Commissioner of Public Health effectively banned all vaping products in Massachusetts. I did have a conference call with the state on Tuesday. We did actually draft up a letter and a packet of information that we brought to all of our tobacco retailers in town. So that was taken care of on Wednesday. We have met with all the retailers, including the CBD store on Main Street, which had vaping products for CBD, which are also effectively banned at this time. So that's in effect until January 25th of 2020. If that gets extended, that's up to the state. But as of right now, that's where we are. I did send an email off to the selectmen as well, let them know what was going on and what we were doing. And that is it on that particular topic. The last item of updates would be the AAA. It is still prevalent. They're still doing mosquito testing. We are still actively getting messaging out there about people protecting themselves. We did just increase the restriction for outdoor activities to 6:30 p.m., which is the dusk as the
Can
days
I
get shorter.
Be a little stickler on that. Is it a recommendation or is it an order?
It's a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
I'd heard today of the fourth death in Massachusetts from Seneca encephalitis.
There have been 4 deaths at the state.
Yeah.
There have been 11 cases, which is a very high mortality rate. Typically, a national average is about 10 cases a year. Massachusetts has already had 11, and we're at the peak of the AAA season right now. So a little shocking. It's definitely had a very busy season for mosquito control. But we are monitoring it, and we are keeping our eye on it. We are doing our weekly testing, and I'm in constant contact with mosquito control, and we do a weekly conference call with all the public health directors in the area, the state, and any other regional partners that want to chime in and get some information on that.
That's a pretty horrid way to die, too, because encephalitis is becoming swells.
Nobody wants to hear about AAA.
Nobody wants to hear about AAA? All right,
Thank you for your testimony.
thanks, guys. And that's it. So the AAA is still there. I met with and spoke to the superintendent and Bev several times. We got the press releases out for the schools, and we did one on the town side as well. So we're just trying to keep that in the people's forefront.
What's the closest town that had the confirmed cases?
Andover, I believe Topsfield is another one.
Those are just mosquitoes positive.
Yeah.
Correct.
No, an
Yes.
actual human case of triple-E. Is
They
there
don't
one in-
Sudbury, anything?
Was there one in Essex County?
Yes, there was. They typically don't tell us the town.
Okay, so they just tell you.
They tell us the county. And then obviously there was a positive horse in Methuen, and a goat, I think, as well. And there was Pelham, Ipswich, I believe West Newbury had a bunch of positive mosquito pools. And I think that's it for right around us, but it's pretty prevalent. Mosquito Control's been doing a ton of supplemental trapping, which is putting out additional traps around where they find positive mosquito pool just to see where it's moving to. It does migrate, obviously, and it does pop up in pockets, so.
How far is there? I remember we had a pretty passionate talk about mosquitoes.
Yes, we did.
How far is the migratory, it depends on the wind too? How far a
Mosquitoes
mosquito
can travel a couple miles, but it's the birds that travel much further distances, and then once you have an infected bird, that will infect a population of mosquitoes somewhere else as they're traveling around for food. So yeah, so it's the birds that make it jump. Long distances,
Okay.
mosquitoes do travel from where they are bred.
And even though the weather is getting cooler, it's the peak time of the year for AAA.
It
West
is.
Nile was several months ago, and I had also read that if there's a cold snap, it may not be enough. You need a deep freeze.
You need a
kill.
very hard frost of a couple
Right.
days where it's sub-freezing temperatures
Talking
overnight.
mid-November.
Yeah,
Huh.
which is a
Yeah.
problem.
We don't get a hard freeze until November.
Actually,
Need a hot freeze.
there was a case of West Nile virus positive mosquito pool in Haverhill last Friday. So
It was on the east end of town.
it was on the east end of town. So that's there too. That's usually way past its peak, but it's still prevalent. They're still getting positive hits for it. And this is the tail end, but the peak of AAA season.
So for people who, again, it's a recommendation, get indoors after 6:30, but people who need to be out, bug spray, cover the skin.
Call it the 5 Ds.
Okay,
Dusk to dawn, dress, deep, and drain standing water off of your property.
very good.
So cover up, wear repellent, an effective proven repellent. And then obviously, standing water and screens in your home, things like that.
Now the DEET, you can apply that to your skin, but you can go further than that, perfume-based material to your clothing and so forth.
Correct.
Adult
Yep.
protection.
Yep.
So I have a question. Update on flu clinics? Vaccines?
Yep, so we started getting a small amount of flu vaccine because I didn't know how much we were getting, and I kind of had to have them change around some of their orders so we would get more. We're not starting the senior center clinics until October 21st. We have 3 at the senior center, and then the big town clinic is November 12th, this Tuesday at the high school. That's from 5 to 7 p.m. And then I go to senior housing as well. That will be November 4th. And then I also go to the departments, police, fire, DPW, schools. So a busy couple of months, but I put the flyers out on social media, the email news. I think GovCAM put it out as well, so.
How many people usually show up to the high school, the town flu shots?
Last year, we had 100 people more than the previous year, so it was just about 500. So, and then the schools was like 250 for all the staff, so that was great to kind of get them. And the senior center ones, I think we average about, between the 3 of them, about 150 to 200 total.
Does the school district run their own and get their own flu shots, or it's all through the town?
So they don't vaccinate like the kids or anything, and
Yeah.
I don't think they have any.
Just like the teachers and stuff?
Right, so I'll go in and vaccinate
Oh,
the
okay.
teachers, yep. And if they don't get it through me, then I say you can set up an appointment, or they can get it through their primary care, or whatever, some people. But it's not required of the staff.
Are you also hearing about early season this year? I've heard confirmed cases
I-
already in the state.
I have heard that, and that's the thing too, is that like all the manufacturers are late and everyone wants their flu vaccine, but not everyone has it. Like I know a lot of places don't have high dose right now. We have high dose, so I'm just trying to, I did a few home visits just for those homebound seniors who aren't able to get out and get vaccinated. So it's lasting later though. So last year we had flu activity in March and April and even May, so it's hard to kind of cover it.
I've heard, this is the first year I've heard them tell you to get 2. Get vaccinated early and then possibly get vaccinated again.
Really?
Just because it's so extraordinarily early that they're concerned about.
So they wouldn't have a different vaccine later in the season.
No, and
So I don't know where you'd get
There's
them.
only like
Yeah.
3, there's only
And I don't know how,
three-
like, if insurance would even cover it, because I
There's
haven't
like
heard that.
Sanofi Pasteur, there's only
Yeah.
like 3 companies that
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually they're so hard to find late anyway.
Right, exactly. Well, then they expire in April or
Right.
May, and then you can't get it until September anyhow, so.
All right. Any other announcements?
That's it for announcements right now.
All right, if that's it for business, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion to close the meeting?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the meeting is closed.